Welcome to the Milk Bottle Shopify e-commerce podcast, brought to you by Milk Bottle Labs, one of the world's top-rated accredited Shopify experts. Our founder, Keith Matthews, interviews Shopify folk to share as many Shopify tips and tricks as possible. This podcast is kindly supported by our two favorite Shopify tools we install in every store, Rewind.io and Klaviyo. Rewind is the leading backup solution for Shopify stores. Let's just say it's the cheapest insurance policy you'll ever get for your Shopify store, protecting all of your valuable data. And Klaviyo is our preferred automated email solution and is trusted by over 65,000 brands worldwide. Keep listening. We have some special offers for our podcast fans. Now over to your host, Keith Matthews.
Hey folks, welcome back. My guest today is Alex Weston from Brightpearl. Brightpearl is an end-to-end retail operating system that has been integrated to Shopify for many, many years and is one of the go-to operating systems for busy entrepreneurs that are trying to create a link between their online store and their retail operation. Alex, how are you?
Doing well, thanks, Keith. How's things?
Good. Nice to finally talk. We have been attempting to talk for many months and one thing or another has gotten in the way. But thank you very, very much for joining us today. I am excited. I have been watching Brightpearl as a product and a company grow, I'd say, over the last 7 or 8 years. So really excited to, I suppose, learn what you guys have been up to. And also, Alex, explain to the listeners what exactly end-to-end commerce is. Us kind of boring old farts, we refer to firms like Brightpearl as ERPs, but it's much more than that. And obviously we have the omni-channel, which is very important as well.
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. You were telling me there before I pressed record, you're based just outside London at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm based just outside London in a town called Woking. It's pretty much a commuter town. Most people just use it as a place to bounce in and out of London. But Brightpearl as a company is based in Bristol, so a very cool and up and coming kind of city within the UK. So it's very two exciting places to be between London and Bristol, really.
Yeah, Bristol is a nice spot. There's a buzz about the place. Is it a university town?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, huge university.
Yeah, it shows when you land. There's a lot of energy about the place. And you're telling me then you're actually on the move. You're heading to Bath.
Yeah, that's right. In the next few months, so heading over towards the southwest, hoping that I don't pick up the accent, but it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely. I know a number of people that live there and it is definitely one of the most beautiful places in the UK. There's absolutely no doubt about that. So anyway, the best of luck with that move.
Thank you.
Okay, for those who have never heard of Brightpearl, Alex, what is Brightpearl?
So Brightpearl, you rightly refer to us as an ERP to some extent. Some people think of us as an ERP. We call ourselves a retail operating system. So by that, we mean pretty much everything that happens after the buy button has been pressed. So we cover all of the order management, inventory management, accounting, warehousing, everything that you might need to get a product into the customer's hands once someone's pressed that buy button online. Brightpearl basically has an offering for, and then all the kind of demand planning and analytics that happen after that as well. So we're pretty much covering the entire back office for e-commerce merchants.
So for a busy entrepreneur with the retail offering, first off, you can absolutely supply a management system that can manage all of the back-end operations. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah, pretty much. And the key benefit really is that we're able to automate a lot of the processes in the back office. So if you're a retailer who's struggling with lots of manual processes and find yourself kind of filling in spreadsheets and updating stuff manually on lots of your systems, then Brightpearl is the place to go for managing and automating all of those different processes to make it a lot more streamlined and a lot more accurate as well.
So give us a few examples there. Are you talking about Xero for accounts, warehouse management system, CRM, all of those units and pieces of software that entrepreneurs have purchased? Brightpearl sits in the middle and integrates to all of them. Is that right?
Could be. I mean, we have offerings in all of them as well. So we have our own accounting system. Quite happy to integrate with Xero, QuickBooks, and other accounting systems as well. But the key bit is exactly as you say, that we can sit in the middle and kind of centralize all of the data and automate the processes around that. So absolutely. For a retailer who's kind of struggling with lots of different processes, whether that be accounting or if they're processing orders off of their Shopify store manually or something like that, that Brightpearl can kind of process those automatically and feed that data into whatever accounting system they might have, whether that's Brightpearl's or a different accounting system or a warehouse management system. Again, could be Brightpearl's, could be a different warehouse management system. But we're really happy to kind of sit in the middle. The key bit really is that order management and orchestration piece. So
does that mean then that you guys end up pretty much managing every single piece of data for some of your clients?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, a lot of the data, especially when it comes to like product data, sales data, order data and accounting and things like that, a lot of that data sits within Brightpearl and will be that kind of central source of truth, if you like. So yeah, we pretty much see a lot of the things that happen within the business. So yeah, absolutely.
Is there a minimum turnover or number of SKUs? Like when you're talking to a potential customer, how do you gauge whether that customer is a good fit for Brightpearl or not?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think what tends to happen is once people hit the kind of million in revenue, that they've started to experience some of the order volume where they would require an automated process in order to make it successful. What typically starts to happen, though, is that people start to feel a lot of pain. So they might have a lot of orders coming through and they'll be mispicking items in the back office. So they'll be sending people the wrong items from the warehouse because they're not accurately scanning them, or they might not be able to update their stock information in real time. So they might be actually selling stuff that they don't have in stock. There's a whole raft of different issues. The key one really, though, is that it might take them a long time to fulfill an order. And if it takes them a long time, they're unlikely to meet next day delivery cutoffs. They might end up spending too much time doing it and then selling stuff that they don't have in stock. So there's a whole manner of issues that happen. And that's when people start to come to us. So whilst there is that kind of usual tipping point around that million in revenue, sometimes people get to it before because they grow very quickly and they start to really feel the pain of those different things that I've talked about there. And it leads to quite a poor customer experience. The wrong item showing up, you don't get your item in time for next day delivery, you buy something that's actually out of stock. It's all very disappointing for a customer. It's all back office related, right? And it's all the things that we help with. So
yeah, the reason I asked that question was we've a mutual client at the moment and I was on the evaluation call with your team.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most impressive calls I was on. Actually, I brought the story back internally after, where there was 2 or 3 of your team on the call and it was a pre-sales call.
Yeah.
And there was a very defined list of questions that were asked to the client and the client answered all the questions. And it was very clear by the end of the call that the guys on the other side of the table on your team had decided and also known that the client was going to be a good fit.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, if you're selling software as a service of the kind of the strength and manpower that your system has, basically to wipe out every other system for a retail organization, if it's a good fit, those questions are really important and that process is really important. But I also thought it was a very honest approach. Okay, so I suppose my next question is: would it be correct to say that you guys actually do talk to a lot of retailers that are doing $1 million in revenue and may not still be a good fit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a whole raft of different things that Brightpearl is a really good fit for. And there's also things that maybe we can't help with, right? So, for example, we don't really work with anyone who's selling fresh food and has like perishable goods, for example. So if we find out those things early enough, then we'll try and point those prospects and those customers in the right direction of another system that might be able to help them. But what we really want to do is make sure that we can deliver a solution that's actually going to work for the customer. And I think that honesty kind of comes out as well, that we really are just trying in that process to figure out what parts of the Brightpearl system are the best fit for them, but also exactly how we're going to set up our system for them in the long run. We're kind of unique in the space that we live in that we do all of our scoping before we sign a customer. So we deliver a technical solution proposal which says exactly how we're going to configure the platform, which is a huge differentiator because as a customer, when you sign with Brightpearl, exactly how we're going to set up that system for you at a fixed cost, which is absolutely vital to kind of making sure that we have really successful implementations.
And that then leads to a happier client because I'm sure you do board clients that end up problems occurring, but you're front loading a lot of effort there. It's a risk because you may be front loading a lot of effort and maybe the client isn't a good fit. But at the same time, if you board the wrong client, well, then the client is unhappy at the end of the process, and so are you. So, look, I just thought I'd give you that feedback publicly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was actually so refreshing to listen to the questions, and the customer had to dig deep to get the answers. So, that your team was forcing a whole new train of thought for the client, which was, for me, it was educational, and it made perfect sense. So,
absolutely, I think the thing is as well that the back office is just a complex beast, and as you say, it's something that requires a lot of manpower, requires a lot of thinking. So more than anything, we want to help customers along that journey, and it is a journey, really. It's kind of a word that's thrown about, but it's not an easy thing to kind of replace your back office systems and put everything in one place. So it's important to get it right. Yeah,
absolutely. In terms of end-to-end commerce, is that a relatively new term within your space, or is that something that you guys have coined? You mentioned that when the customer presses the buy button to when the customer gets the product, what are the areas within that space, within that kind of end-to-end commerce term that are, I suppose, important to everybody?
Yeah, good question. I'd like to think we coined the term, although it seems so obvious that I don't think we did. So maybe
we will give you the credit on this podcast.
All right. Well, I don't know. Someone's going to come with a pitchfork soon and try and get me for it. Yeah. With end-to-end e-commerce and end-to-end commerce, it's a really interesting one. A lot of people think of or have thought of the buying journey as the bit that gets people to the buy button. So all of the marketing, SEO, PPC, email marketing, making the website as seamless as possible, making it very easy for people to search and add things to the basket, making the checkout really easy and obvious to use as well. And even things like buy now, pay later or one-click purchasing and all of that. People think of the experience and the customer experience as that bit on the front end. When in reality, there's so much that happens after that buy button has been pressed in order to get a product into the customer's hands. And actually, that's the bit that kind of makes or breaks the customer experience a lot of times. There's a stat, which is something like 89% of the time, if a customer has a bad experience with a brand, they'll stop doing business with that brand. They're never coming back again. So pretty much 9 out of 10 times, if you get it wrong, then they're never coming back. And by and large, the majority of issues, we did some research around this, when an experience goes wrong, is to do with the back office. It's to do with those missed picks, selling stuff you don't have in stock, all of those different things that I spoke about before. And so what we mean by end-to-end e-commerce is thinking about all of the e-commerce journey from the moment that a customer reads your marketing, to hits your website, to goes through the search, to add something to the basket, all the way through to the point where they get that product into their hand. And then also all the repeat purchase and the retention marketing that you might do afterwards as well, alongside that, and turning them into a loyal customer and an advocate of the brand. So thinking about end-to-end e-commerce is not really just thinking about that kind of funnel of how do I get someone into the website and get them to purchase quickly. It's how do I actually turn that person into a very loyal customer, no matter what channel they bought on, no matter what marketing they interact with, everything in between. Including the back office piece. So
what you're saying is that the back office piece has an immediate impact on the customer experience. So can you give us examples of how Brightpearl fixes that? Like, are you talking about, simply having an efficient inventory management system? What kind of areas does Brightpearl ensure within that step? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, typically the kind of headline things that tend to go wrong are the things that I mentioned earlier. But so, for example, if your inventory doesn't update on all of the different sales channels that you sell on. So as a merchant who's grown quickly, you might sell on a Shopify store, you might sell on Amazon, you might sell on eBay, maybe you've even got a brick and mortar store as well. If your stock level doesn't update in real time on all of those different channels when someone's bought from the website, the likelihood is that someone's then going to go and come and buy something that you don't actually have in stock. I've actually got a very funny story about this with a table that I bought once. I'm looking forward to it, Alex. This very funny story is going to be the most boring thing in the world now, right? So I bought a table and a bench, and I won't name the retailer that I bought them from. And then immediately afterwards, I got an email saying the table that you bought is out of stock, but we're still going to send you the matching bench anyway. Well, of course, I don't want the freaking bench now because I haven't got the table anymore. Yeah. So we told them we don't want it. They still sent it anyway. And it was sat outside my flat waiting to be picked up for 3 weeks. Yeah. That's how long I had this bench for before they actually realized that they needed to come and get it. Anyway, long story, but
it's a very disappointing customer experience. I was quite excited about the table and the matching bench. The bench showed up. It turned into a whole experience. And I'm in that 90% of people that I'll never buy from that brand again because it was such a disappointing experience.
Just hold that thought for a second. Let's just listen to our sponsors for one moment. And when we get back, I'll explain to you how I managed to purchase 9 bar stools and didn't receive any of them. Rewind.io is the leading backup solution for your Shopify store. Did you know that there's no way of recovering lost data? If your store is gaining traction, app developers or multiple staff may enter your store, and there's absolutely no way of fixing human error. Rewind.io allows you to rewind your store back to its original state, so you can reduce your business risk immediately with the Rewind app. It's so easy and is the cheapest and best insurance policy you'll ever need for your Shopify store. Get your first month for free by simply replying to your first email from Rewind and mention this podcast. Now, regular listeners will know I love Klaviyo. It's the single biggest revenue generator I've ever seen across hundreds and hundreds of Shopify stores I've been in. Klaviyo's data-driven marketing automation platform is sophisticated enough to power those legendary campaigns from the big brands you admire, but they make it simple, they make it easy, and they make it fast. To get started with a free trial of Klaviyo, visit klaviyo.com/milkbottle. That's klaviyo.com/milkbottle. Alex, we purchased 3 bar stools from a Dutch website, and they were shipped to Ireland, and then they never arrived.
Right.
And then one arrived, so they just disappeared. The courier told me that he thought that there may be a second box somewhere. So somebody else signed for the other 2. So we ended up with 1 stool. So the stool was in the house. It's still in the house. After that bad experience, exactly what you just explained, we decided to go to a physical retail outlet in Dublin, and we bought the stools. When they were delivered out of the box, they were 2 or 3 inches shorter than what it said on the box. So they had to go back, and we were charged I think it was a restocking fee by that retailer.
Right.
So then we bought 3 more from a German site, and it took 9 weeks for them to arrive. So basically we were the entire summer standing up having breakfast in the kitchen, which was really inconvenient. But look, I share that in jest, but the example that you shared is absolutely very relevant. So I suppose my next question, based on that, there should be a rule there that if the grey table is in stock and the grey chairs that weren't in stock are within the one purchase, well then there should be a rule there to say that in actual fact that order shouldn't be shipped. So Brightpearl solves those complex business decisions, doesn't it? And business,
right, exactly.
business back-end operations.
The beauty of working with Brightpearl is that you can configure the rules that you want in order to be able to fulfill orders in quite complex ways. So if you're a merchant that's got a warehouse, but maybe you drop ship some products as well, and maybe you've got a third-party logistics partner that you use, Brightpearl is very good at managing complex processes in an automated way. So you can basically configure rules to say, if we've got this item in stock in the warehouse, fulfill it from there. If it's not in stock in the warehouse, then drop ship it directly to the customer or whatever. Those are the types of rules that we can help with. But core to that whole out of stock story that I was telling is that we can push inventory levels up to the sales channels in near real time. So it's very, very unlikely, I'm talking like seconds, that you're going to sell something that you don't have in stock anymore, which immediately things like that just eliminate some of those operational issues that people might be experiencing.
And of course, is it true to say then, Alex, that having a single source of truth, as in Brightpearl, instead of multiple systems connected to it, that in actual fact, the flow of data is going to be quicker and it will be more or less bulletproof?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that customers experience with us is that not only are they able to save time because they're not bogged down in these kind of manual processes, they're also a lot more accurate when it comes to making orders happen, making sure they don't sell stuff that's out of stock, but making sure the right items show up, for example, which is a pretty basic thing, but something that people do get wrong. And then also making sure that it shows up in the time frame that's promised and agreed on the website as well. So it absolutely has a massive impact on both the merchant's life as a merchant, i.e. being able to, enjoy fulfilling orders and making sure that they're not running around in a whole world of manual process, but then also the customer's life, the end customer's life, making sure that the product shows up on time and makes it a really happy experience for them as well.
The experience over the last 18 months or 2 years in terms of supply of stock and attempting by most busy retailers, attempting to predict the demand and also order in advance given the supply chain issues that we have is really, really important. So I noticed that you guys recently purchased Inventory Planner, which was a Shopify application that I have to say, we recommended it to a lot of people. And I noticed then in terms of the reporting tools and the insights that you provide, basically Brightpearl has a built-in inventory demand planning solution. So are they connected? I suppose, can you just fill us in on what an inventory planner is? Because it's a big deal for you guys. That's a great app.
Yeah, absolutely. We're super excited to be working with Inventory Planner and having them as part of the Brightpearl team as well. So we've actually worked with Inventory Planner for a number of years now. Brightpearl Demand Planner is essentially a white labeled version of Inventory Planner with some kind of enhanced features as well. But having them kind of in-house and as part of the Brightpearl team is absolutely great for us. I think one thing that is really clear is that there's a really good fit for Brightpearl merchants with Inventory Planner. There's been a really good adoption across our customer base of using that platform. And it basically just helps people to plan and demand stock more effectively, be able to kind of figure out, at this current sales velocity, how many more units am I going to need in stock in future? Look at seasonality and things like that as well. And make sure that you've got the kind of required level of stock ready to go for when you're expecting those kind of peaks and troughs as well. And then the other thing is that it really helps you to figure out exactly what kind of stock you've got in stock already. So the age of that stock and do analysis around that and run some really quite complex reports, which a lot of merchants tell us take them a lot of time until they see something like Inventory Planner doing it for them. So yeah, super exciting for us. And I think for Brightpearl as a whole, really kind of helps strengthen the offering. And the good thing is as well that you don't even need to be a Brightpearl customer to access Inventory Planner, right? You can still buy it as a standalone product. So which is really cool.
Yeah, that's a really important point. A lot of the time when an application takes over or is bought out by somebody, they kind of suck it into a much larger system. So the fact that it still remains independent is great. One of the challenges that we've discussed in Milk Bottle with clients over the last number of years is multi-locations. And we're working with a client, and you're working with a client, a mutual client who has multiple locations across multiple jurisdictions as a result now of Brexit. Brexit is still a topic and it's still in conversation, and it probably will be for a long, long time. So in terms of that specific issue, Brightpearl has a solution for that, hasn't it? Yeah,
multi-location is a really good one for us. I kind of alluded to it earlier, but if you're fulfilling orders from lots of different places, then that's something that Brightpearl is really strong at. And what you're able to do with Brightpearl is set rules around, like, if the order is within this kind of postcode or within this country or whatever, then I want to fulfill from warehouse Germany. And if it's in a UK country, then I want to fulfill from the UK warehouse, for example. So pretty crude example, but Brightpearl is very strong at managing those types of processes. And exactly that kind of multi-country or even multi-brand, for example, is something that's really straightforward with Brightpearl.
Alex, you've explained Brightpearl very, very well, and you've also explained the principle of end-to-end commerce. And we've discussed things that can go wrong and things that people get wrong. Yeah. But like, in terms of, looking into the future, what should a retailer focus on to get that ultimate customer experience?
Yeah, I think one of the things that merchants are really going to be battling with is that the goalposts are always moving when it comes to like creating a really good merchant experience. So if you think of like Amazon Prime, and I hate to drop the term in because it's that's
okay. That's okay.
the big like headache, but it really kind of sets an expectation with the end customer.
But Alex, sorry, just to be clear to the listeners, what you're referring to is the fact that they'll deliver it pretty much the minute you press the buy button.
Basically, yeah. And it sets that expectation that you're going to be able to get an order and get it tomorrow, even the same day in some cases, right? Which is so hard to keep up with as an independent e-commerce merchant. So having the foundations in place to be able to cope with these types of things, being able to automate as many processes as possible is absolutely key. But thinking about the ways that people are going to shop as well. And again, this is a bit of a moving target because of the whole pandemic issue. And again, I don't want to bring that whole thing up again, but there's also that. So you've got things like buy online, pick up in store coming, curbside collection, click and collect, or whatever you want to call it. All of these different ways that you can basically shop online these days, but still kind of tie in the store experience. The key to all of these different things is having the foundations in place to be able to deliver on those experiences. There is little to no point in trying to deliver a buy online, pick up in store experience, or next day delivery, or Amazon Prime style next hour delivery, if you can't actually meet that expectation and you set it on the website and you're just going to let the customer down. So the key thing is really to set the foundations, get all of the operational foundations in place to be able to deliver on that end-to-end customer experience. And then you can think about things like buy online, pick up in store, and curbside pickup, or next day delivery, and all of those kind of different things as well. And they are things that end customers are going to be looking for more and more as well. All of the research that we've done shows that people intend to use those types of services more in the next few years. I think there's a stat that we saw in one of our research papers that was pretty much saying that there's a cohort of customers that can only see themselves shopping online in the next 5 years or so, which is ridiculous. I can't imagine actually just only shopping online.
But I think they're there already though, Alex.
Yeah.
Your point there about really what you're saying is that online retailers should just start by getting it right first before they start offering other services that are going to put them under pressure. The next day delivery is an interesting phenomenon. In our experience with customers that are running Shopify stores, as long as they notify the customer and they're very clear with the customer if there's a delay or this is exactly the time that the item is going to be dispatched, customers are happy. That delivering within the hour in certain states by Amazon in the States, like it really is a wonderful, wonderful solution. There's no doubt about it. And that's why people love it. But in our experience, as long as the customer knows when the product is going to arrive, they're not actually going to complain. And most people don't need anything, within an hour or two.
It's so true.
Yeah.
And I think one thing to keep in mind as well is that sustainability is definitely something that people are kind of really keeping an eye on as well. And so when it comes to things like getting something in the next hour, if you've ordered 3 things from the same retailer in 3 separate orders, a lot of people would say, actually, I'm more willing to wait for all of them to arrive in the same box than have them all arrive in 3 separate boxes, for example. There's a lot of merchants who are really differentiating around the sustainability angle as well. But again, it's all about that communication that you were talking about. And I think the more that you can communicate with your own customer and just let them know where the product is, why it's delayed, if it's delayed, it just really helps with the customer experience. And most people are willing to kind of forgive these things as long as it's kind of communicated, really.
Absolutely. And I know for a fact that Brightpearl can actually do that. So if somebody goes into a Shopify Plus store or Shopify store and makes a purchase, if the same person purchases a number of times, another Brightpearl can create that rule where the shipping, where the actual, all of the 3 packages get shipped in one, which is I always looked at it from the point of view of saving on shipping fees. I never looked at it actually from the sustainability point of view. That's a valid point. Alex, before we go, just wanted to ask you, Brightpearl is now an official technology partner of Shopify Plus, isn't it? Yeah,
so we've actually worked alongside Shopify Plus for many years. I can't even remember the exact amount of years now, but it's a long time. But we are really excited that they recently launched their ERP program, of which we're a part of. So we're there alongside several of the ERPs. But yeah, we got kind of hand selected by Shopify Plus to be part of this program, which is super exciting. We've got about 200 plus customers now using Shopify Plus with Brightpearl. So a lot of merchants use Brightpearl with Shopify Plus. But yeah, hugely exciting for us and a really, really kind of validating program to be a part of as Brightpearl.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's hard to get into, but it's probably the wrong way to describe it. There's a good test of your product before you're considered. So well done. To us, it makes perfect sense because you guys have been around a long, long time, and I think you probably know retail better than most people and know the omnichannel better than most people. Alex, I have to say, an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks, Keith. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your time and enjoy the move to Bath.
Thanks very much. Cheers, Keith.
Take care.
Thanks for listening. All of our episodes are available on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. A special note of appreciation goes to our sponsors, Rewind.io, the leading backup solution for Shopify store owners. Get your first month of Rewind for free by simply responding to any welcome email once you sign up for your free trial on Rewind.io. And of course, to the email platform Klaviyo, which helps Shopify brands easily create personalized, multi-channel marketing campaigns using your most powerful asset, your customer data. To get started with a free trial of Klaviyo, visit klaviyo.com/milkbottle. That's KLAVIYO.com/milkbottle. If you're a Shopify user with an exciting story to tell, reach out to the team on podcast@milkbottlelabs.com. Until the next time, take care.